Audible is the leading provider of spoken word entertainment and audiobooks, ranging from bestsellers to celebrity memoirs, news, business, and self-development. Every month, members get 1 credit to pick any title, plus 2 Audible originals from a monthly selection, and access to daily news digests from the New York Times, the Wall Street Journal, and the Washington Post, as well as guided meditation programs. Between a full-time job in IT and a full-time job in podcasting, it gets harder and harder to sit down and read the books I'm interested in. This is where Audible comes in. I can listen on my daily commute, relaxing, or while out running errands and still get in the books I've been wanting to get into. You can download titles and listen offline anytime, anywhere. The app is free and can be installed on all smartphones and tablets. Now you can try Audible risk-free with a special 30-day free trial by visiting audibletrial.com/nerdery and murdery. That's audibletrial.com/nerdery and murdery. Don't let your busy life get in the way of that great book you've been wanting to read. Go get your free trial of Audible today. This podcast is sponsored by BetterHelp. This is Geoffrey, and we've talked about many times before that I experience problems and struggles with my mental health, and really without a healthy mind, being truly happy and at peace is hard. The good news is therapy does work. It's helped for me, but what is therapy exactly? It's whatever you want it to be. Maybe you're not feeling motivated right now and would like some tools to help. Or maybe you're feeling insecure in relationships at work, or you're not dealing well with stress. Whatever you need, it's really time to stop being ashamed of normal human struggles, and it's time to start feeling better because you deserve to be happy. And now you don't have to worry about finding an in-person therapist near you to help. BetterHelp is a customized online therapy that offers video, phone, and even live chat sessions with your therapist, so you don't have to see anyone on camera if you don't want to. It's much more affordable than in-person therapy, and you can start communicating with your therapist in under 48 hours. So join the millions of people who are seeing what online therapy is really about. It's always a good time to invest in yourself because you are your greatest asset. And there's a special offer to Nerdery and Murdery listeners. You can get 10% off your first month of professional therapy at betterhelp.com/nerdery and murdery. That's betterhelp.com/nerdery and murdery. Thanks again to BetterHelp for sponsoring this podcast.
Of these 7 flops, all but 2 of them ended up not being flops anymore after video.
For the geeks and snooze in harmony. Comics and clues on every show. It's a villain no one knows. From dungeons deep to courtrooms gold. Stories waiting to unfold. Forgotten lore and chilling tales. Superheroes and crime details. Listen close and stay a while. Journey through the strange and wild. Nerdery and murdery.
Welcome to episode 207 of Nerdery Murdering.
Big 207. I'm Zig with your nerdery.
And I'm Geoffrey with your Murdery. Welcome to another week of the highs and lows, the ups and the downs, the good and the bad, and the nerd and the murd. The latest Superman trailer dropped this week. Yeah.
Okay.
Actually, I think by the time this episode comes out, it will already be in the theaters. But I've gone from meh to intrigued. The latest trailer was really good. Really kind of gave, I don't know, it just gave some more intrigue to the film that I didn't have before. I love that they have adopted the theme song in it from, the original 70s Superman with Chris Reeves
Oh, nice.
in there. I'm still a little wary of Crypto, the dog, being in there. I think that might be a little silly. But it looks a lot better than what I first thought. You get a very brief glimpse of Guy Gardner in the trailer.
Oh, yeah.
So
Nathan
he'll be
Fillion.
I think it's Nathan Fillion.
Yeah, it's Nathan Fillion. It's Nathan Fillion in a really stupid blonde bowl cut wig.
Red. Guy Gardner's red hair.
Red hair. Oh, I think they've got him as like a strawberry blonde.
Yes. But I couldn't tell it was him from the brief glimpse, so I couldn't. I had forgotten that it was going to be Nathan Fillion, but you'd get a very brief glimpse of him. But I'm more intrigued with this movie now from this second trailer. So I think this is a must watch for me. I love most of the Superman movies. There's a couple that I'm meh. But I think this one may actually end up being pretty good. We're also fast approaching to the Fantastic Four coming out soon, which I don't know. I don't know about that one.
I kind of like the idea of it actually taking place like in the 60s. I think that's
Yeah,
cool.
I do that. But I don't know. We'll have to see on that one. Fantastic Four movies have not been very good to date. So, we're going to have.
I liked the first one. I really liked the first one.
It was just kind of meh. Doctor Doom wasn't that great. The biggest problem I have with this one is the voice of the Thing just doesn't sound quite right from what you expect. But I'll give this one a watch. I don't know. Have we talked about this before? Have you watched The Righteous Gemstones?
Yes.
Oh my God. I'm in season 4 of it now. I just started season 4 last night. You talked about gratuitous nudity in the last episode. Dude, the amount of times that full frontal male nudity is shown in The Righteous Gemstones is sometimes
I
just
love
beyond.
the very first episode. You get a full frontal shot of Danny McBride walking in with his dong out and just sits down and starts watching TV. And I'm like, oh, Danny.
I think Danny McBride is a genius. I think he's
I do
brilliant.
too. I do too. And he likes to grab that trope of the Southern idiot,
Yeah.
and turn it on its head.
Yeah.
And I love that because they laugh at us because of the way we talk.
Well, and I thought The Righteous Gemstones.
Fuck them.
I thought Righteous Gemstones was going to be a comedy, and while it has comedic aspects to it, it's really a drama.
Yeah.
I was very
It's dark as shit.
Yeah, very, very much so. Very much so. But I've really, really liked it. The Danny McBride has said that the 4th season is the final one, that there won't be any more. But I've heard some people who have gotten through it that said it almost kind of opens it up for another one. But I think Danny McBride probably moves on to something else.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like he did Eastbound and Down. He ended up doing like a 3rd season of that, but he was like, the story's kind of done.
Mm-hmm.
And then he did Vice Principals. They really only wanted to do 2 seasons of that. And
Well,
then
and they wrapped it up.
Yeah, and then the Righteous Gemstones, they kind of, I think they're basically done, but everybody loves it. So
Yeah. Brilliant.
I bet him and his writing partner end up doing something else. I'd kind of like to see him
I'm sure they
revisit
have
To
something
Put
else
Fist
in the
Away.
works.
because that's the first thing they did, and they shot that. Dude, they shot that in like their hometown, this tiny little town. They didn't have any permits, so they were always running from the cops, trying not to get tickets for filming without a permit.
I'm sure he's working on something else. I would almost say after the success of Vice Principals and Righteous Gemstones, it will probably be something else with Walt Goggins in it.
Uh-huh.
I mean, Walt Goggins, I realize is working on, and I don't know if filming is wrapped on Fallout Season 2. But I think he'll continue. Walt Goggins has just become a massive success.
Yeah.
He was great in Justified. He was in The Shield. He did, of course, Fallout, Righteous Gemstones, Vice Principals. There's also another series he was in that I haven't watched yet.
The Unicorn.
The Unicorn, but I'm thinking of The White Lotus. Is heavy accolades.
Yeah.
Brilliant actor.
Yeah, I love Walt Goggins. Again, same thing. Takes that Southern idiot idea and turns it on its side. And I love that.
You want to see him very, very young. Watch Major League 3, Back to the Minors. He's in that as a minor league player who's on his way to the pros, and he's hysterical in that one. Not a great
he did an
overall,
episode. He also did an episode of Community where he was a lawyer who just wanted to go hang out with people. It was funny, so funny.
That's funny. Well, anyway,
let's do shots.
Great show. Give it a watch. I've been telling everybody about it if they haven't seen it yet. The last thing I had, I just wanted to give a quick preview. I'm not going to tell the content, but the next 3 episodes, it's a 3-parter. So come in, stay tuned, have a lot of fun. I think we're going to have fun with this one. I am done
there's
with my notes.
There's going to be some controversy.
I'm sure there will be, but I've got my notes noted out. I actually finished my notes last night. I posted them down finally about midnight. I had just a few things left to note out, but yeah, definitely come back for the next 3 weeks. I think it's going to be some fun episodes for me especially. I love the content. So anyway, that's all I got. You got anything you want to step us over to the nerdery side of the house?
I'm kind of ready to do the nerdery side of the house.
Go for it.
I want to kind of jump into this. Okay, today we're going to talk about 7 box office disappointments. And as I said in the stab, all but 2 of them ended up not being ended up being financially viable after the box office.
And I believe there's only 2 that I've never seen.
I'm going to go ahead and list them off. Fight Club, Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, The Shawshank Redemption, Blade Runner, The Rocky Horror Picture Show, Valerian and the City of a Thousand Planets, and Ishtar.
Those 2 are the ones I haven't seen. The last 2.
I will also say this. All but one of these movies is great. Do you know which one is not great?
Well, I haven't seen 2 of them, so...
Okay. Fight Club's great.
Yes.
Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, great.
Yes.
Shawshank Redemption.
Yes.
One of the best movies of the 90s. Blade Runner, incredible. Rocky Horror Picture Show, love that. Full of camp, love that. Valerian and the City of a Thousand Planets is beautifully shot, beautifully written. It's based on a French comic, and it's incredible. And then there's Ishtar.
Well, and I would have immediately gone to Ishtar more than anything else because it's pretty much a Hollywood joke now of how much of a bomb it was, to the point that the Animaniacs had an episode where they became really tiny and were in a video store being chased by some things, and so they started trying to find weapons, and then they decided to throw bombs, and the first thing they grabbed was Ishtar. Right.
Ishtar. Yeah, that movie never made its money back.
But Dawn, our friend Dawn, says it's a great movie. So
I disagree with Dawn.
So I don't know. Anyway, carry on.
All right. So the first one we're going to talk about is Fight Club. Fight Club is a 1999 American film directed by David Fincher and stars Brad Pitt, Edward Norton, and Helena Bonham Carter. It's based on the 1996 novel Fight Club by Chuck Palahniuk. Norton plays the unnamed narrator who is discontented with his white collar job. He forms a fight club with a soap salesman, Tyler Durden, and becomes embroiled in impoverished but beguiling woman, Marla Singer.
Let me stop there. He is named.
Huh?
He is named.
He is what?
He's named. He has a name.
Jack.
It's Jack. Yeah.
Yeah. In the books, I am Jack's spastic colon.
Yes.
But yeah, Jack and Tyler, and it turns out he's, I don't want to give anything away, but he's actually Tyler. He's crazy. The lack of sleep has driven him insane, and he realizes that the modern society and all its trappings is it is a false narrative. But he goes so far as to try to destroy society. It's almost theater of the mind. I love this film. Neither one of these characters is sympathetic. The only sympathetic character would be Marla.
And even she's not that sympathetic.
You know what? The more I think about it, Bob is the sympathetic character in this film. Everybody else is a shade of gray.
Yes.
But I mean, it is just about modern corporate society and how it's destroying us, and the idea of and hypermasculinity, how that's not really good for us either, and we need to find a middle ground. But he never really says what that middle ground is. It's just fucking brilliant. But the production ideas. The novel was optioned by Fox 2000 Pictures producer Laura Ziskin, who hired Jim Ulls to write the film adaptation. Fincher was selected because of his enthusiasm for the story. He had read the book. He developed the script with Ulls and sought screenwriting advice from the cast and others in the film industry. It was filmed in and around Los Angeles from July to December of 1998. He and the cast compared the film to Rebel Without a Cause and The Graduate, respectively, 1967 and 1995. With a theme of conflict between Generation X and the value system of advertising. Studio executives did not like the film and restructured Fincher's intense marketing campaign to try and reduce anticipated losses. Fight Club premiered at the 56th Venice International Film Festival on September 10th, 1999. It was released in the United States on October 15th, 1999 by 20th Century Fox. The film failed to meet the studio's expectations at the box office and received polarized reactions from critics. It was ranked as one of the most controversial and talked about films of the 1990s. And it just squeaked by in 1990, as the first showing was September 10th of 99. However, Fight Club later found commercial success with its home video release, establishing it as a cult classic and causing media to revisit the film. In 2009, on its 10th anniversary, the New York Times dubbed it the defining cult movie of our time. Studio held Fight Club's world premiere at the Venice Film Festival. They predicted the film would gross between 13 million and 15 million in its opening weekend. However, it only earned 11 over almost 2,000 theaters, and the film ranked first at the weekend box office, beating Double Jeopardy and The Story of Us. Audiences polled by CinemaScore gave the film an average grade of B or A+ to F scale. You know what? And at this point, this is where it dropped. Its budget was 63 to 65 million, and its box office was 100 million. So it didn't fail per se, but as you said before, it needs to make 3 times as much for it to be a success. Anything more, it becomes a blockbuster.
Right.
And also, you have to consider that this movie also plays on the indie circuit. For a big budget picture, this is also kind of considered an independent film as well, even though it's really not, because of the ideas and the thoughts and the way it was shot. I think it's a brilliant picture, and it's a scathing, dark comedy.
Oh, absolutely. I completely agree
Scathing.
with you. This is a brilliant film, and I have watched this one time and time and time again. Did you and I see this together at the theater?
I think so.
Because
I
I
know we
know
watched it several times on
oh yeah.
video, sitting
Oh
in our
yeah.
recliners,
But I know I saw it
our
in
Joey Chandler chairs.
yeah. I know I saw it in the theaters as well, and I'm glad I got to see it on the big screen. I've watched it many times on video, streaming. This is a great movie. The book is worth a read too. I would
Mhm.
highly recommend the book. Gives you a lot more in depth into the story. Y- y- on first watch, the twist is just such a mind fuck.
Mhm.
Um, but go back in second watchings and you see all the clues.
It's all
It's all
yeah,
there.
it's all laid out.
Which
It's
is
like the color red in
Schindler's List.
yeah, Schindler's List, or I was thinking the M. Night Shyamalan movie, the big one that he did.
Oh, The Village.
No, not The Village, the first one.
Oh, A Sixth Sense.
Sixth Sense. Thank you. The word again. I'm having trouble with downs today. I apologize.
Color Red was from The Village, though.
It was also every time every time red was present,
Uh-huh.
like the red balloon, the red door handle.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, side tangent. Speaking of that, I just saw something on this yesterday. Go back and watch The Departed,
Mhm.
and everybody in the movie that is going to die at
Mhm.
some point crosses in front of an X.
Really?
Yes. I just saw this video yesterday, and they were showing all the scenes
Fucking
where
Scorsese. I
where
love
the
that
person who
motherfucker.
dies steps in front of something that is fashioned in an X, whether it's just graffiti or
Uh-huh.
under a bridge where there's an X construction. Look, watch it; it's pretty wild.
I love Marty Scorsese. He's
But
such a genius.
yeah, but yeah, the all the clues are laid out in front of you in Fight Club, and it's a brilliant movie from start to finish. Um, I I know it was considered a box office bomb, but I know it made up that money in
Oh yeah,
movie
yeah.
sales.
I mean, like I said, all but two of these films made their nut back.
Yeah.
I think Valerian will eventually get there because it is beautiful. Ishtar's never gonna make it.
No, we'll get there.
Yeah.
But Fight Club, if you have not seen it, that's a must-watch movie. That is a must-watch movie. It's very dark. There is nothing happy about that movie.
No.
You won't be happy at any point or feel good at any point. But give it a watch.
Yeah.
Well worth
Yeah.
it. Well worth it.
It's a descent into madness, and you don't
Yes.
even realize that you're descending into madness until you realize, oh, this guy's been descending into madness this whole fucking film. First time you watch it, but yeah, you need to sit down and watch Fight Club. It's readily available everywhere.
Yeah.
I do have some scenes in Fight Club. It doesn't necessarily give anything away. Again, I know we talk about spoilers. This movie's 25 years old. None of these movies.
I still would hate to spoil this one.
Yeah. It's about a man's descent into madness.
Yeah.
You figure out what that means when you watch it. The next film is Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. It is a 1971 American musical fantasy film directed by Mel Stewart from screenplay by Roald Dahl, based on his 1964 novel Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. It stars Gene Wilder as the chocolatier Willy Wonka. The film tells the story of a poor child named Charlie Bucket, Peter Ostrin, who upon finding a golden ticket at a chocolate bar wins the chance to visit Willy Wonka's chocolate factory along with 4 other children from around the world. Filming took place in Munich from August to November 1970. Dahl was credited with writing the film's screenplay. However, David Seltzer was brought in to do an uncredited rewrite against Dahl's wishes. Changes were made to the story, and other decisions made by the director led Dahl to disown the film. The musical numbers were written by Leslie Briskews and Anthony Newley, while Walter Scharf arranged and conducted the orchestra scores. Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory was released in the United States on June 30th, 1971 by Paramount Pictures with a budget of $3 million. The film received generally positive reviews from critics, but was not a big financial success, only earning $4 million by the end of its original run. It received a nomination for Best Original Score, the 44th Academy Awards, and Wilder was nominated for Best Performance in a Motion Picture, Comedy, or Musical at the 29th Golden Globe Awards. The film also introduced the song The Candyman, which went on to be recorded by Sammy Davis Jr. and became a popular hit. Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory has since become highly popular in repeated television airings and home video sales. In 2014, the film was selected for preservation in the United States National Film Registry by the Library of Congress as being culturally, historically, and aesthetically significant. And as I said, it was released in 1971. It had a budget of $3 million. It only earned $4 million at the box office. And for the promotion before its release, the film received advanced publicity through TV commercials offering a Willy Wonka candy factory kit for sending $1 and 2 seals from boxes of Quaker cereals such as King Vitamin Life and any of the Cap'n Crunch brands. It is a children's movie that will frighten you to death.
Yes. Yes. Absolutely.
As frightening as the newer one was, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, you don't hold a candle to this. And Gene Wilder, to his credit, the reason he came out with a cane and then started dancing, he had a very specific reason in mind. He was like, I want the kids in the audience to realize that I am a liar and I cannot be trusted and they may get hurt.
Right.
And Gene Wilder was a genius.
He was brilliant in this.
Yeah, I understand he's a writer in his own right, and a brilliant one at that. But that idea permeated that whole film, right from the opening out, and it's already sad. Charlie Buckets lives a sad life. He can't ever get a Wonka bar. He just happens to stumble across one and gets the golden ticket.
No, he stumbles across money to buy.
Yeah. Yes, he stumbles across money to buy it and gets the golden ticket.
Gene Wilder is brilliant in it. This movie is brilliant. And the reboot of it with Johnny Depp is good. The Johnny Depp one is closer to the book than the Gene Wilder one is.
Yes, it is.
That
would have made Roald Dahl much happier.
Yes, I read this book. I've read this book countless times. I love the story of Charlie and the Chocolate Factory.
There's a sequel too that no one ever talks about.
James and the Giant Peach.
No.
I thought James
Charlie and the Great Glass Wonkavator.
Oh, that's right. What was I thinking? The James and Giant Peach? I don't know.
It's also Roald Dahl.
Yes, I know. I just, for some reason, I was thinking that one. But yeah, there is a sequel. I've never read the sequel. But this one is a favorite of mine. This is another one I have watched tirelessly, and I can watch it every single time it's on. I just love Gene Wilder in this role. Phenomenal. And it's sad that was a box office bomb. It's really sad.
Yeah.
It's considered by so many such a great movie.
It wasn't a bomb per se. It did make money, but it was not successful.
Well, you said it made $4 million off a $3 million budget.
Yeah.
It didn't make any money.
Yeah, that's not a bomb, but a bomb doesn't make any money. A bomb loses money.
Well, yeah. But this one was considered a bomb, and it's sad because this one is brilliant.
Oh yeah, it's frightening. It's brilliantly shot, brilliantly written. Again, as you said, it is not as close to the novel or the novella, young adult book, or adolescent book. But it is. Oh God, the music's great. The singing's great. The singing is eerie. All of the songs are a tiny bit eerie, which it will creep. Even the really nice the Candyman stuff.
Well, because most of the majority of the songs in the movie are celebrating the demise of a child.
Yes, but a bad child.
Yeah.
Uh, so yeah, it's amazing and beautiful, and it has since, upon rewatching on video, on television, it has made more money. Again, most of these films have, and I think Valerian eventually will, but it's so recent, it hasn't had time to really capture an audience. Um, but yeah, what a great, I mean, it's a great children's movie, although I wouldn't show it to your little children because it'll scare the shit out of them.
Yeah.
It's one of those things. When we were kids, they would scare the shit out of us on a regular basis, or make us sad, like the uh, oh my god, the Never-Ending Story. Jesus Christ,
Lassie.
Jesus
Or
Christ.
not Lassie. Old Yeller.
Old Yeller. But yeah, this is just. I can't go. I have nothing else to say about it other than go sit down and watch it. You think the Johnny Depp one was good? Watch the one with Gene Wilder. And it takes a minute for it to get started. Johnny Depp's kind of jumps into it pretty quickly. This one is a slow burn, but once you get inside this chocolate factory, it's fucking nuts. Fucking nuts. The next film, The Shawshank Redemption. It is a 1994 American prison drama film written and directed by Frank Darabont, based on the 1982 Stephen King novella Rita Hayworth and The Shawshank Redemption. The film tells the story of a banker, Andy Dufresne, Tim Robbins, who is sentenced to life.
Dufresne's.
Sorry.
Yes.
You've seen this a time or two. Sentenced to life in Shawshank.
Yeah.
State penitentiary for the murders of his wife and her lover, despite his claim of innocence. Over the following 2 decades, he befriends fellow prisoner, contraband smuggler Ellis Red Redding, Morgan Freeman, and becomes instrumental in a money laundering operation led by the prison warden Samuel Norton, played by Bob Crunton. William Sadler, Clancy Brown, Gil Bellows, and James Whitmore appear in supporting roles, as well as, oh my God, the Kurgan. Darabont purchased the film rights to King's Story in 1987, but development did not begin until 5 years later. Clancy Brown. It just took me a second. Again, I can't. Something's going on with my brain today. Nouns are leaving me.
That's all right.
When he wrote the script over 8 weeks, 2 weeks after submitting his script to Castle Rock Entertainment, Darabont secured a $25 million budget to produce The Shawshank Redemption, which started pre-production in January of 1993. While the film is set in Maine, principal photography took place from June to August of 1993, almost entirely in Mansfield, Ohio, with the Ohio State Reformatory serving as the eponymous penitentiary. The project attracted many stars for the role of Andy, including Tom Hanks, Tom Cruise, and Kevin Costner. Thomas Newman provided the film's score. I think all of that would have been a mistake. I'm going to be honest. Tim Robbins is perfect for that role. And had I been casting that film, I wouldn't have thought that. You know what I mean? I would not have thought Tim Robbins for that role, but oh my God, he is good in that. Now, The Shawshank Redemption did receive critical acclaim upon its release, particularly for its story and the performance of Robbins and Freeman. It was a box office disappointment, earning only $16 million during its initial theatrical run. Many reasons were cited for its failure at the time, including competition for the film's Pulp Fiction and Forrest Gump. Goddamn. The general unpopularity of prison films, its lack of female characters, and even the title, which was considered confusing for audiences.
So go back real quick. Mm-hmm. Shawshank Redemption went up against Forrest Gump, Pulp Fiction, Quiz Show, and 4 Weddings and a Funeral.
Yeah.
It was, to me, one of the best Oscar season ever.
Mm-hmm.
Any one of those could have been Best Picture.
Yeah. Yeah. And honestly, the one that won is probably the weakest film in that set.
A lot of people think that. Quiz
Show was incredible.
Quiz Show was incredible. But a lot of people found Quiz Show a little boring.
Yeah.
It's a slow moving one.
Yeah, it is.
The reason Forrest Gump won, and I'll state it to this day, and I think I've said it before, is the scene where he sees his son for the first time. His acting in that role, in that scene, propelled it to number one.
You think
because
so?
it's a wonderful scene and so touching. Forrest Gump won because it pulls at the heartstrings.
Yeah. It's what? How did I put it before? It's a it, it's a baby boomer love fest.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
whereas the
Yes.
rest of these are just good films.
Right.
But
Well, and the thing is, I I think both Shawshank and Pulp Fiction were wronged. I think Forrest Gump is a great movie. I really do, but I think Pulp Fiction or Shawshank should have won.
yes.
Um, I, I've watched Forrest Gump multiple times, and it's a great movie. It's a really good movie.
Mhm.
It's a fun movie to watch. Pulp Fiction and Shawshank to me are in is in top 10 movies of all time.
Mhm.
Especially Shawshank. Shawshank is a stop down movie.
Yeah. 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 Shawshank. I think Shawshank Redemption was. I'm going to be honest. I think of that pack is probably the best movie. It may be the best movie of the '90s.
Yeah, I could definitely say that.
Yeah, it's based on a good piece of literature, which was just a novella.
Yeah, it was a novella. So Rita Hayworth in Shawshank Redemption was part of Stephen King's books Different Seasons, which out of that you get Shawshank Redemption, Apt Pupil, which also got made to a movie that wasn't really that good, but Apt Pupil, and The Body, which became Stand By Me.
Stand By Me.
Three, the only one that hasn't ever come out is The Breathing Method, and I really don't remember that much about The Breathing Method. But this was these were some really really good books, and movies sometimes have a hard time with Stephen King stories simply because the bulk of his short stories seem to be a lot more successful. And I think that's because in his full novels, as I've talked about way back when, Stephen King spends so much time character building so that you are emotionally invested with the characters by the time you're in the middle and towards the end. His short stories don't spend as much time character building. So it's a little easier to transpose those into movies. I'm really excited because someone has bought the rights and they're going to redo The Running Man.
Oh, nice.
I'm very excited about that. And in production now is The Long Walk, which is a
Really?
brilliant short story.
Yeah, I love The
Yes.
Long Walk.
Yes.
I
Matter of fact, I
love The
need to
Long
look it up.
Walk.
The Long Walk movie.
And again, I've said this before. I am not a huge fan of Stephen King.
Whoa,
I like him.
2025?
I am a huge fan of Richard Bachman, even though it's the same dude. When he writes as Richard Bachman, it's different.
Okay,
And
I may cry because there is actually a trailer out for The Long Walk. It comes out September 12th.
Oh, we're getting The Long Walk in September?
Oh my gosh. And
Cool. I hope it's a little.
Frank Darabont had got the rights.
Frank Darabont, who we are talking about now, who did The Shawshank Redemption.
Produced by Lionsgate Films, Francis
Good.
Lawrence directing. Oh, wow, Mark Hamill.
Who's directing?
Francis Lawrence.
Hold on. We're going to stop the showdown for just a second here, folks.
Constantine.
When this comes out,
he did Constantine, the 2005 movie.
Oh, and one of the Hunger Games films. He did Catching Fire and both the Mockingjays.
Okay, yeah. As soon as we're done, I have to watch this trailer because the trailer for The Long Walk is out. I love The Long Walk.
Yeah, that's a good book.
And Mark Hamill is in it.
Oh.
Dude.
Yeah.
Okay.
This sounds awesome.
I'm sorry. I hate to be crude, but kind of got a little stiffy right now.
You ain't the only one. Okay, kids, when this comes out, this movie may be out, so you go check it out. I think, we'll be close. Sorry. A peek behind the curtain, dear listeners. We record this stuff 10 weeks ahead.
Generally,
we are generally 10 to 12 weeks ahead at any given time. So we have to do mental math we're talking about this. It's like, okay, I know we're already past June. Currently, today's date is May the 18th. Even though you guys won't be hearing this till probably August or September. Um, but that's actually my fault. It was my production background. I'm like, we can't release anything until we have 10 in the can. And they were like, dude, that's crazy. Dude, that's crazy. And yes, it is crazy, and I'm sorry about that. But it has helped us in the long run. And I think I don't know about you. Don't note out as far as I do. I'm noted out for another 20 weeks after that.
Yeah, I'm not. I stay about 3 episodes at a time.
Yeah.
I can't keep more than that in my head.
If we need to drop something in, I will move an episode around and drop something in. But yeah, for the most part, I know what I'm going to be doing 20 weeks from now. Again, hate to stop down the show, but
yeah, we completely stopped down the show for the long walk, which I'm excited about. I can't wait to watch
that's pretty nerdy.
So anyway, window of opportunity, Shawshank.
Thank you. Wait, here's our window of opportunity.
Here we go.
So Shawshank Redemption had a budget of $25 million and made $73 million at the box office. Not quite, almost triple. It was still a disappointment. And that's what this episode is titled. Box office disappointment. It's not necessarily bombs.
I think that's so funny that this is considered a box office disappointment, because I know it is. Yeah. But I mean it was so hyped for the Oscars, and it's considered by many as in the top 5 greatest movies of all time.
Yeah, definitely one of the best movie of the 90s.
Phenomenal that this bombed in the box office.
And it's beautiful and brilliant. And honestly, I can't go back and watch Forrest Gump.
I can.
It honestly doesn't hold up for me. Quiz Show, I can go back and watch. I can go back and watch this one. I can go back and watch Pulp Fiction, which I have.
Yes.
Yeah, but this one is particularly, I could go watch this movie right now.
Yeah.
And it's brilliant and beautiful, and Morgan Freeman and his voiceover in this film is amazing. Everybody in this movie is amazing. But this movie really kind of lived on cable and video. Everybody had this movie. It was on cable all the time, and it'd be like you'd be looking for something to watch. It's like, oh, Shawshank's on, and you just put it on in the background. It was always on somewhere. It was like Gilligan's Island. Somewhere it was on. But yeah, it's one of those films that you really need to see. I've got some good scenes for it in the
YouTube.
Yeah, YouTube playlist. The best scenes of Tim, some of the stuff where he really gets away, which is my favorite. The next film is Blade Runner. Blade Runner is a 1982 science fiction film directed by Ridley Scott from a screenplay by Hampton Francis and David Peoples, starring Harrison Ford, Rutger Hauer, Sean Young, and Edward James Olmos. It is an adaptation of Philip K. Dick's 1968 novel, Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep, which very early on we did an episode on this film and that book. It was just like, let's just talk about all of it. The film is set in the dystopian future Los Angeles of 2019, in which synthetic humans known as replicants are bioengineered by the powerful Tyrell Corporation to work on space colonies. When a fugitive group of advanced replicants led by Roy Batty, Rutger Hauer, escapes back to Earth, burnout cop Rick Deckard reluctantly agrees to hunt them down. Blade Runner initially underperformed in North American theaters and polarized critics. Some praised its thematical complexity and visuals, while others critiqued its slow pacing and lack of action. The film's soundtrack, composed by Vangelis, was nominated in 1982 for a BAFTA and a Golden Globe as Best Original Score. Blade Runner later became a cult film and has since come to be regarded as the greatest science fiction films, or one of the greatest science fiction films. Hailed for its production design, depiction of high-tech but decaying future, the film is often regarded as both a leading example of neo-noir cinema and a foundational work of cyberpunk. It has influenced...
Go ahead.
No, please go ahead.
I don't remember if we said this in the episode we covered, and we don't need to hash too much on this. I mean, because we did cover this in an episode. But the funny thing, and I don't remember if I said it, the first time The first time I saw Blade Runner
Mhm.
was with you at the Ridgely for the director's cut.
Yes.
I did not see it previous to that.
Okay. I'm getting ready for the hate mail. I love the extra scenes in the director's cut. I like Decker's voiceover, which they took out in the director's cut. I know Ridley Scott didn't want it. I like the voiceover.
I don't know that there's going to be hate mail for that, because I agree with you, because I've gone back since and watched the original. I think the voiceover is important.
Yeah, it makes it more of a gritty gumshoe detective
Yes.
idea, because that's the way he did it.
Yes.
There is a version where you get the extra scenes with the voiceover, and it's brilliant, and that's my favorite. That's my favorite, because there's like 4 or 5 versions of it. It also brought the work of Philip K. Dick to Hollywood's attention and led to several film adaptations of his work. In 1993, it was selected for preservation in the National Film Registry by the Library of Congress. Oh, going back to that Ridgely thing, I saw it originally in that theater, and then I saw it like 20 years later with the director's cut.
That's funny.
Yeah, almost in the same seat. Blade Runner is released in 1,300 theaters on June 25th, 1982. The date was chosen by producer Alan Ladd Jr. because his previously highest-grossing film, Star Wars and Alien, had a similar opening date, May 25th, for 77 and 79, making the 25th of the month his lucky day. Blade Runner grossed reasonably good ticket sales in its opening weekend, earned $6.1 million during the first weekend in theaters. The film was released close to the other major science fiction and fantasy releases, such as, okay, you've got Blade Runner, you've got The Thing, Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan, Conan the Barbarian, and E.T. the Extraterrestrial.
Oh, and E.T. smoked them all.
Oh, God, yeah. But you think about this. All of those movies were released within a month of each other.
None of them stood a chance to E.T.
No.
None of them.
Blade Runner had a budget of $30 million and a box office of $41.8 million. So again, it didn't lose money, but it also didn't do what it was supposed to do. And it was by the Ladd Company, which also went on to do Tron like the next year, I think.
We got another Tron coming out, by the way.
Oh, nice.
The sequel to the last one.
Yeah. When we said, so we had crap television in the 80s. It was all doctor shows and police procedurals. Occasionally we get a science fiction show and it would last 6 episodes. But at the movies in the 80s, that's where we lived.
Oh, yeah.
That's where we live. Every other week. Again, within a month, you've got Blade Runner, The Thing, Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan, Conan the Barbarian, and E.T. the Extraterrestrial. I saw all of them in the theaters with my grandfather. Saw E.T. twice. Went to go see it with my aunt and my cousins as well.
Yeah, E.T. was 82. Is that right?
Yep.
And then the very next summer, Return of the Jedi.
Uh-huh. And if I'm not mistaken, Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom.
In that area somewhere,
yeah. Tron. I was just summer blockbuster movies were the thing in the early 80s. Thank you, George Lucas, for that. But yeah, it was just amazing. It's this amazing science fiction film. Again, I always feel like I'm in the minority. But you were with me on this one. I like the narration.
Yeah.
The film is brilliant without it. It is better with it.
Agreed.
I do like the extra scenes because the extra scenes were put in there to make it ambiguous as to whether or not Deckard is a replicant as well.
Mm-hmm.
And the truth is, Deckard is not a replicant. Deckard has just been hunting them so long, he's starting to act like one. But I think they should have kept those films in there, or those pieces in there. And the idea of a replicants, are they human, are they not? Well, they're biomechanical, so they're not really machines anymore. They're living, breathing things. And they have memories and minds and brains. And Roy Batty's closing scene is amazing. But yeah, Deckard ends up retiring them all. It's brilliant, beautiful, love it. Can't recommend it enough. Actually, all of those films. Go see all of them. Just sit down and watch them. It's worth a watch. Spend a weekend watching old sci-fi movies. The next film on our list is The Rocky Horror Picture Show. It is a 1975 independent musical comedy horror. Say that 3 times fast. Independent musical comedy horror. The film was produced by Lou Adler and Michael White, directed by Jim Sharman, and distributed by 20th Century Fox. The screenplay was written by Sharman and Richard O'Brien, who also played the supporting role of Riff Raff. The film was based on the 1973 music stage production, The Rocky Horror Show, with music, book, and lyrics by Richard O'Brien. The production is a tribute to the science fiction and horror B-movies of the 1930s to the early 1960s. The film stars Tim Curry, Susan Sarandon, and Barry Bostwick. The film is narrated by Charles Gray, with cast members from the original Royal Court Theatre, Roxy Theatre, and Bellicose Theatre productions, including Nell Campbell and Patricia Quinn. The film opened in the United Kingdom at the Rialto Theatre in London on 14th August 1975, and in the United States on the 26th of September on the UA Westwood in Los Angeles. It did well at that location, but nowhere else. And then they started the midnight movie screenings about a year after it was released.
So if you haven't seen this movie, and if we convince you to see this movie, which I hope we do, watch it in this order. See the live performance first, and then watch the movie by itself so you can at least appreciate it. If you watch the movie by itself first, you may be turned off.
Yeah. This movie, I love this movie. I think it's great. It's very campy.
I agree. I agree. But the live production and it was written for this.
Yeah.
And the live production just adds to it.
So yeah, what we're talking about is when you go to see this as a midnight movie, because there are people out there who may not know. You have people yelling things at the screen.
Yes.
And there's audience participation. You throw out toast or rice or squirt guns, and you put newspapers over your heads, and a cast is acting out the film in front of the screen while it's going on.
Mm-hmm.
It's amazing.
It's brilliant. Ziggy and I have been to Midnight Rocky Horror so many times. At one point, he commented, "You know what's funny? We're the old creepy guys that we used to make fun of years ago." You know, as we're sitting in the theater.
That was like 20 years ago that I said that too.
Oh yeah. And there is a local there's a local group here that does it every Halloween, and we missed it last year, but I want to hit it this year. I am 54 years old, and I'm going to go see this thing at midnight.
Oh yeah, I went about 5-6 years ago to take Kelsey and Kim for the first time for them to see it, and it was like, what? I was like, yeah, I'll go. And they were looking at me like, how do you know all this stuff? And what was great is some of the lines I knew were different from some of the ones they did, and I was like, oh, that's brilliant. And I had someone come up and tap me on the shoulder like, when did you start doing this? And I was like, 1989. They're like, yeah, and then ran off and did their thing. His name is Robert Paulson that we heard in the early 2000s. I stood up and did that.
Yes.
And I got applause from one of the floor walkers. And that was when he was like, when did you start doing this? 1989.
Yeah.
I was actually in the cast as Dr. Von Scott because I didn't mind wearing fishnets. I did not mind being in a wheelchair wearing fishnets and high heels underneath a blanket because it's really hot underneath the blanket because he doesn't reveal until the end, even though he's in like a tweed jacket. It didn't bother me, and I could do the goofy German accent for the whole thing. So
my first time to see it was between 91 and or 90 and 93, somewhere in there in Tempe, Arizona, is where I saw it, and it was brilliant. I fell in love with this immediately.
Oh yeah, it's brilliant. It's so much fun to go to. You need to go see a midnight movie of it first, though. He's right. You need to see it with the cast. You need to participate. It's scary, body. It's
Now, and in saying that, if you find a love for it like we do,
Mm-hmm.
and you suddenly find out, hey, there's a sequel to this, don't bother. Just don't bother. Shock treatment is terrible.
It's awful. It's awful.
They were trying to capture the magic, and it's terrible.
Yeah. They did it about 3 or 4 years later.
Yeah.
And trying to basically the shock treatment was they were trying to capture the magic that was the stage production.
Yeah.
Going on in front of the film, and it failed on multiple points.
For a long time, and it's not this way anymore, but for a long time, Susan Sarandon was embarrassed that she was in this movie.
Yeah. Yeah.
But she has since embraced it.
Yeah.
It's very young Susan Sarandon.
Oh, very, very, very young. Susan, I think she was actually still married to Chris Sarandon at the time. Which is, she hasn't been married. She hasn't been with him in a long time. This is like what I think they filmed it in 1974.
Yeah. No, Susan Sarandon is with Tim Robbins.
Tim Robbins.
Shawshank Redemption.
That's right.
They've been together a long time.
Yeah. So again, they showed this film and it died on the vine, right? About a year and a half later, Fox re-released the film around college campuses on a double bill with another rock music film parody, Brian De Palma's Phantom of the Paradise. But again, it drew small audiences. A second film poster was created using a set of red lipstick painted lips with the tagline, "A different set of Jaws," a spoof on the poster of Jaws. The lips of former Playboy model Lori Shark are featured on the poster. With Pink Flamingos and Reefer Madness making money at midnight showings, Fox executive Tim Deegan was able to talk distributors into midnight screenings, starting in New York City on April Fool's Day of 1976. So again, about a year later. And then they started showing them on those college campuses. Eventually, this movie made $170 million and counting, with a budget of $1.4 million. So it is wildly successful, but it took a long time.
Yeah.
The reason it's so high now is because they're still counting the ticket receipts for when people go to see it.
Well, it's a cult classic now.
Yeah, it is a cult classic.
And everybody who goes to see it that ends up loving it will tell everybody else, you have to see this movie. Mm-hmm. You have to go to a midnight showing.
Let me take you to this movie. Yes. You're going to get sacrificed as a virgin.
Yes.
Which is usually amazing. They'll go and paint your stuff on your head, make you participate, and it's all fun and games, and it's a bunch of theater kids. Just amazing. Amazing. I know when we took Kim the first time, it's like grabbed homie up and mummified them in toilet paper. Mummified them in toilet paper. It was amazing. And homie wore it the rest of the show. It was like, good God, this is amazing. I was like, man, that's how I used to spend my Friday nights when I was a kid. Is that right? Friday nights. Friday nights at the Forum 303 Theater in the Forum 303 Mall in Arlington, kind of Arlington, Grand Prairie, which the theater's gone and the mall got tore down. It is now an office park.
Last I knew, it was playing at midnight at whatever that theater was over by Ridgemar Mall. Yeah. I don't think it's there anymore.
No. But it is playing the group that does it around here is called Los Bastardos, and they have rotating shows. Occasionally, they will even do it at our little movie bistro theater in Lake Worth, which is where I went to go see it the last 2 times I went to go see it. And yeah, I will go back and see it every once in a while, just to have popcorn and enjoy. And what's great about now is I can go and I can get a mixed drink while I'm sitting there enjoying it, whereas before that wasn't an option. All the drinking was done in the parking lots. And I will say this, outside of that theater, it still smells like clove cigarettes. Sorry, we kind of geeked out on that one too. The next film is Valerian and the City of a Thousand Planets. It is based on the French, bear with me, Valérian et la Cité des Mille Planètes. It's a 2017 space opera film written and directed by Luc Besson, famous for The Deep and or Deep Blue and The Fifth Element. Produced by his wife, Virginie Besson-Silla. It is based on the French science fiction comic series Valerian and Laureline, written by Pierre Christian, illustrated by Jean-Claude Mézeret, and published by Dargaud. It stars Dane DeHaan and Cara Delevingne as Valerian and Laureline, respectively, with Clive Owen, Rihanna, Ethan Hawke, Herbie Hancock, Chris Wu, and Rutger Hauer in supporting roles. Yes, that Herbie Hancock. Besson independently financed and personally funded the film with a production budget of around $180 million. It is both the most expensive European and the most expensive independent film ever made. Valerian in the City of a Thousand Planets was released on 20th July 2017 in Germany by Buena Vista International and Universum Film. In the United States on the 21st of July by STX Films, in France on the 26th of July by Eurocorp Distribution, in China on the 25th of August by China Film Group, in Belgium on the 26th of August by Belga Films, and 27th of November in the United Arab Emirates by Gulf Films. So it got released by different companies all over the world. It received mixed reviews from critics who criticized the plot and some of the casting, but praised the visuals. It grossed $226 million worldwide, but due to its high production and advertising costs, was considered a box office bomb following its release in the United States. So, its budget was $209 million. It was done in euros, so that's a conversion. Its box office was $226 million worldwide. This film is very faithful to Valerian. Valerian is one of those, they would break parts of Valerian down and show it in heavy metal or metal hurlong. Which, by the way, is back. Heavy metal is back as well as metal hurlong. They started releasing them again with the really good covers, and every one of the newer ones has some new stuff, and they will reprint some of the old stuff that they had that made them famous. But yeah, Valerian, to me, Valerian was brilliant. I didn't think the storyline was that disjointed. It looked like I think they ripped it right out of a comic from the middle of Valerian's run. You know, from a series or a serial. Brilliant, beautiful, well shot. The music's great. A lot of David Bowie, a la Space Odyssey stuff. And the idea it starts with is there is this space station orbiting the Earth, and other countries start adding to it, like the International Space Station. I think it actually starts as the International Space Station. And eventually it becomes like this spaceship city. It starts to become a problem because it's so big, it's starting to mess with the gravitation of the Earth. So they decide to send it out into interstellar space, still in contact with the Earth. When they meet different alien species, they join up, which is why it is the City of a Thousand Planets, because it's a couple of thousand years in the future, and all of these civilizations have added pieces to this space station that is now basically like a UN in space, always floating. And Valerian and God, I'm going to mispronounce her name again. Laureline. 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 Okay, my French is terrible today. Probably the same place where my nouns are. It is amazing. I actually don't like that actor who plays the main character, Valerian. Everything I've seen him in, I don't care for him. He's not bad, but he's not good. You know what I mean? He's just okay. He's actually pretty good in this. I like him as Valerian, but Valerian's kind of in the comic. Valerian's kind of the idiot hero type, and his partner is the one who's smart. He kind of pulls that off. I think because this actor may not be very bright. That may be why he's pulling me out, and I could be wrong about that. But he plays.
On.
Yeah.
See if I've seen him in anything else.
Yeah.
He was Harry Osborn in The Amazing Spider-Man 2.
Yeah. He again, he's okay. He's okay. He's just not great.
Yeah.
But I don't think the film didn't suffer because of that. I think he was fine as Valerian. I would have cast somebody else, maybe somebody a little bit older, because he doesn't come off as a wizened cop as much. But he was good as Valerian, and she was good as Laureline. And the rest of the cast was just amazing. Herbie Hancock was good. I loved Rihanna in her scene. Just outstanding, beautiful visuals. It's one of those films that I think eventually will find its audience, but it was so overblown. There was a big push on announcing it and everything else in 2017 when it came out. But it was one of those things. It was like, oh my God. And then it started to get the press that, oh, nobody's seeing this movie. This is going to be a bomb. So people didn't go see it in the theaters. I didn't see it in the theaters. But I like it. I ended up buying it, I think, on like Amazon because I was like, oh my God, this movie's brilliant. It is readily available right now. You guys should sit down and watch it. It is a brilliant science fiction film in the same vein as Blade Runner.
It's on Max right now.
Yeah, but it's really good. So I think eventually, again, it did make a little bit of money because it's, after the conversion, because it was all in euros. Cost $206 million or $209 million and grossed 226. So, it didn't really lose money, but it didn't really make money either. It's not at a deficit. The gross is not a deficit to the budget. I think eventually it will. It did sell pretty well for streaming and stuff. People really it's finding its home. And I think in 4 or 5 more years, this film will be in part of the conversation of, man, this is a brilliant film. I don't know why more people didn't watch it. It's kind of culty. But again, it's based on a French comic. It's like heavy metal. Not many people were into heavy metal when it came out either. And now it's like, oh my God, this is the most brilliant piece of animation I've ever seen. Give it time. Valerian will get there. The final film in our list, and again, full apologies to our friend who's been on the show, Don Perry. This film is awful.
And that's what I had always heard. Don,
I've seen it.
I'm almost positive Don has said it's not as bad as people think.
I don't think he actually went as far as saying it's a good movie. I think he said It's not as bad as people think.
Yeah, that may be it.
Okay. I'm sorry, Don. I agree with you wholeheartedly. It's not as bad as people think. It's just dull. It is a 1987 American adventure comedy film written and directed by Elaine May and produced by Warren Beatty, who co-stars opposite Dustin Hoffman. The story revolves around a duo of talentless American songwriters who travel to a booking in Morocco and stumble into a four-party Cold War standoff. Shot on location in Morocco and New York City by cinematographer Vittorio Storaro, and production drew media attention before its release for substantial cost overruns on top of a lavish budget, and reports of clashes between May, Beatty, and Storaro. A change in studio management at Columbia Pictures during post-production also led to professional and personal difficulties that undermined the film's release. Ishtar polarized critics and became a notorious failure at the box office, many initially considering it to be one of the worst films ever made. I wouldn't go that far. Although critical support has increased significantly since release to the point where it received 2 votes for the greatest movie of all time in the 2022 iteration of the British Institute Sight and Sound, decent polls. Its 2004 DVD release excluded North America, where a director's cut running 2 minutes shorter was released on Blu-ray in August of 2013. Negative buzz about Ishtar and its high budget was widespread in the press long before the film reached theaters. In an interview with May, Mike Nichols described the bomb as the prime example that I know of in Hollywood of studio suicide, implying that the Putnam sandbagged the project by leaking negative anecdotes to the media because of his grudges against Beatty and Hoffman. Before releasing, market research led Columbia to believe the film would fail. Its head of marketing, Pete Seeley, advised the studio to minimize its loss by cutting the film's advertising budget. Instead, Columbia spent even more to promote the film, afraid of alienating Beatty and Hoffman. Ego trumps logic in Hollywood. Despite negative press, 3 previews went well, Beatty describing one in Toronto as the best he had ever seen. Ishtar on more than 1,000 screens across the country took in $4.2 million, which is an equivalent to $11.3 million in today's money, winning the weekend, being number 1 at the box office. However, it outgrossed The Gate, a low-budget horror film with no stars, by a mere $100,000. The Gate is phenomenal, by the way. It has become synonymous with a box office bomb. So it had a budget of $51 million and another $21 million spent on prints and marketing costs. The film is estimated to have lost $40 million. So it had a $71 million budget and it only earned $14.3 million. This movie is a Bob Hope, Bing Crosby Road 2 movie.
Mm-hmm.
That's what this movie is.
Mm-hmm.
For that, it's not that bad. But it's actually, for one of those, it's pretty good. You know, Bing Crosby and Bob Hope made like a dozen of those pictures with Dorothy Lamour, I think was the lady who was in it with them all the time. Road to Bali, Road to Cairo, all the stuff. That's what they were trying to do. The problem is you can't really do that in the 1980s. You can't make a Road 2 movie like that. You have to do something different because the tropes that they're using don't exist anymore. You know, you don't have old vaudevillian song and dance men trying to book gigs in New York and end up going to Morocco. You know what I mean? We don't have vaudevillian song and dance men anymore. The only place where vaudevillian song and dance men exist is in England. And they don't call them vaudevillian, they call them dance hall. We had a little bit of Australia and New Zealand. They kept it alive. But we don't do vaudeville here anymore. We just don't. And we had stopped doing it well before this film was made. So the idea and the trope was imprecise. And I think instead of setting it in the modern era, if they had set this film in 1946, which would have made the budget higher, but they were shooting in Morocco, and it was a lot of people in basically native dress, so that didn't really matter. If they set this film in, take it up. There's a Cold War thing going on. So let's say they set this film in 1950. This film would have made more sense. And I think it would have been one of those films that's like, oh my God, they brought back the road movie. These guys are geniuses. That's not what they did. They set it in the 1980s. At the time, modern era. And it just doesn't play well. I've got some scenes, a couple of chase scenes. Again, it's not a bad flick. It's just dull. It doesn't, and it's disjointed. It doesn't make sense. It's a 1987. It was a big studio production. I'm sure the cocaine was mounded as high as those sand dunes. That's probably part of the problem too. it's just not good. Again, as our friend Don said, it's not bad. It's not as bad a movie as everybody thinks it is. In my opinion, it's just dull. I tried to watch it when I was making this. I couldn't get through it. I found it. I think it's actually on YouTube. I didn't want to subject our audience to that, so I just gave them a few scenes. It's not good. It's not terrible. It's not a movie that I would fall asleep in.
Well,
you know what I mean?
I'm going to guarantee I will never watch Ishtar. I heard enough bad things about it. I will never watch it. Valerian, I may give a watch. I've kind of had that on my radar for a long time. Ishtar, nah.
Never watch Ishtar.
No interest. Yeah.
I took the heat. I took the hit for you, buddy. It's just dull. It's.
That's what I've always heard.
It's like, okay, remember the Romancing the Stone? What a great movie that was.
Mm-hmm.
And then the sequel, The Jewel of the Nile, just wasn't as good.
Right.
Even though they're both set in North Africa, I don't want to necessarily compare the two, but yeah, it's like Jewel of the Nile. It's just not that good. It's not as good as Romancing the Stone. And I like what they were trying to do. I like the idea of bringing back that Road 2 movie. And again, I think if they'd have set it in 1950, 1951, that movie would have killed. But they decided not to do that. Plus, Warren Beatty was being, Warren Beatty. I don't think he was as good of an actor until he met Annette Bening. I think Annette Bening made him a decent actor because he really wasn't that good. I've seen people play Bonnie or Clyde Barrow with way less clout, way better than him. He was just a pretty face. And I'm not saying he was necessarily bad. Like, what was that movie? Shampoo. He was fine in Shampoo, but he was basically playing himself.
Well, he was pretty good in Dadgummit, that movie where he died and got resurrected into another body.
Yes, Heaven Can Wait.
Heaven Can Wait.
I liked him in Heaven Can Wait.
Yeah.
Although I think anybody could have taken that. I've seen a couple of versions of that where it's kind of the same thing, and I like them better. But yeah, it's not terrible. Dustin Hoffman, he was okay. I mean, I think that all of the bickering that was going on set kind of threw Hoffman off his game because he's a real method. And he has to be in it. And I don't think he was in it. I think he was collecting a paycheck. Again, I don't think he started out that way. I think Hoffman may have started collecting a paycheck when all the weird stuff started happening on set. Arguments between the director, the producer, and his co-star, who was also a producer. That couldn't have been good for morale. So Hoffman's just trying to, I'm going to give a decent performance and we'll see where this goes. But, and then after that, the studio decided to, well, maybe we should market this as well. Well, maybe we should. It was a conflagration of bad things happening, which made this thing bomb. I don't necessarily think this movie is terrible or the worst film ever made. I've seen
a lot of
worse.
people do. A lot of people do consider it one of the worst ever made.
It's just dull.
Right.
It's just dull, which is. I feel the same way about The Jewel of the Nile, and a lot of people love that movie, and I'm like, why didn't you like Ishtar? It's basically the same fucking movie. Shot on the same fucking sand dunes, but But that is about it for box office disappointments. We went through 7. That was kind of a long one. Sorry about that.
Yep.
And we had to geek out in the middle.
Yeah. There was a lot of tailing off on that, but yeah, like I said, I plan to watch Valerian at some point. And forget about Ishtar, but the others on the list, if you have not seen them, do definitely see them. It's
Mhm.
shocking to me that they were considered box office bombs, but I think they're great. You need to get them.
Yeah.
You need to check them out.
Well, not necessarily all bombs. They were all box office disappointments.
Right, right, right,
Yes.
right, right, right. Cool, awesome.
Well, thanks, sir.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Great
Sure.
list. With that, we'll step over to the murdery side of the house.
Murder.
Okay, for today, I got my information off CBS News, ABC 30 Action News, ABC News, CNN, Wikipedia, and Medium. And this is the Wesson Family Murders. Have you ever heard of this?
The Wesson Family Murders?
Uh-huh.
Like the oil company?
No,
Okay.
no. Um, After researching this story, I'm shocked. I've never heard of this. There's a reason why most people have not heard of it. It got overshadowed, and we'll talk about that in a second. Um, but I'm fairly I have a fair bit amount of knowledge about cults.
Mhm.
I'd never heard of this, and it's good. I think it'll shock you as we go through the other things that were taking place during this. Um, so last year, it was 20 years since this happened. It was considered one of the worst mass murders in California. Um, in 2004, Californians and actually Americans in general were fixated on Scott Peterson and the murder
Mhm.
of his wife Lacey and their unborn son. Listen to our episode 194 if you want more of that story. Um, Scott and Lacey had been living in Modesto, California. News stations were reporting every development of that investigation and trial. Most started their working day standing at office water coolers, telling about the latest reports of Scott and Amber Frey, his mistress, the slaying of Lacey. But there was another case that was going on right at the same time, and shocking. It was a shocking one. And as we listened to it, or as I talk about it, was it because the Petersons were an affluent white couple and this case involved people of color? Maybe. I don't know. Regardless of it, we're going to talk about it today.
Good.
So in the quiet city of Fresno, California, Marcus Wesson's reign of control and manipulation ended in unspeakable tragedy. One that left the community in shock and forever haunted them by the chilling details of his crime. What happened behind closed doors of the Wessons' home was a twisted story of fanaticism, deception, and a family that was trapped in grips of terror. It was March 12th, 2004, when officers were called to an old converted office building turned house on West Hammond Avenue in Fresno, California, and there was a heated argument over custody that had broken out. Officers got out of their car, made their way over to Ruby Ortiz and Sofina Solorio, who were outside of the building with other family members. All of them were hysterical, claiming their kids were all being held captive inside the rundown building that they were all standing in front of. When the officers asked by who, they all pointed to the door of the building where a man stood who was their uncle, Marcus Wesson. They added that if the cop didn't hurry, he was going to hurt kids. So officers headed over to the very strong looking but big and older man with graying dreadlocks down to his waist. Considered how hysterical the family outside were, along with two women inside the house retaliating with slurs like bitch and whore to the women outside, the older man spoke to officers very coolly, calmly, and in a very collected manner, and appeared surprisingly cooperative. Officers didn't have a warrant nor any probable cause to enter the property. So over the noise of the family members waiting outside, they simply asked Marcus to hand the boys back to their mothers, and he agreed, but only if he could say goodbye to them first. Before police could respond, he slammed the door shut in their faces, which prompted Marcus's two nieces to begin screaming that he was going to kill their sons. Among the family members they brought with them for support was one of Marcus's sons, their cousin, who had also left the home a few years prior. He told the officers that his dad owned a gun. Immediately, the officers told the crowd to take cover while they called SWAT, but unfortunately it was going to be too late. Officers were poised, ready if a problem arose, but essentially waiting for SWAT to arrive before doing anything, and that's how they stayed for nearly an hour and a half just waiting. From there, the accounts kind of differ because neighbors would later report they heard gunshots during those 90 minutes. One of the neighbors said she heard four, and another said she heard a succession of loud explosions and women screaming. However, when later accused of not stopping the massacre, police denied ever hearing gunshots. Their argument for waiting was A, they didn't have a warrant, and B, there was no indication other than the claims made by Ruby and Sophia that there was a safety issue. So they didn't have any authority to storm the home because he'd gone back inside. Instead, it wasn't until the 57-year-old Marcus Wesson reopened the front door that his clothes were covered in blood that they realized something terrible had happened. SWAT hadn't even arrived at that point, so while some officers lunged at him and placed him under arrest, other officers rushed inside, now with probable cause to enter. Inside, it was dark and silent. Up against one wall were a few coffins that were stacked up, which for a split second stopped officers in their tracks, but then spurred them to uncover what was the cause of Marcus being covered in blood. Unknown to them at the time, what they were about to stumble onto would haunt them for days. Actually, it was so horrific that after the fact, some of them went on administrative leave or had to undergo counseling. They moved to the house and they came upon a pile of bodies, blood pooling around them on the floor. The bodies were still warm, and the bodies appeared to be that of children. Each one had been shot through the eye. And it would be hours before police could determine for sure how many victims there were, and then days before they could all be identified. Marcus would be arrested, and several days after his arrest, the bodies were identified as, and walk with me here.
Yeah, I was just reading up on it. I was like, oh my God.
Well, his 25-year-old daughter, Sebrina, not sure. His 17-year-old daughter, Elizabeth. Here's where it gets weird. His 8-year-old daughter / granddaughter, Illabel. His 7-year-old daughter / grandniece, Aviv. His 7-year-old son / grandnephew, Jonathan. His 4-year-old son / grandnephew, Ethan. His 1-year-old daughter / grandniece, Sidonia. His 1-year-old son / grandson, Marshy. And his 1-year-old daughter / granddaughter, Java. Yes, those relationships are correct. The coroner carried out DNA testing, and when those results came back, the depraved mind of Marcus Wesson was about to come to light. So Marcus was born in 1946 in Kansas. He was the oldest of 4 children. And after hearing the kind of childhood he had, many have said that the writing was on the wall for him to become a religious pervert. His dad, Benjamin, was an abusive alcoholic who had never held down a steady job. They drifted from state to state, never laying down roots for long. And although never formally proved, it's alleged that Marcus's dad had molested both him and his siblings. Like I said, no evidence was ever found out about that, but later in Marcus's trial, his sister took the stand, and without coming right out and confirming it, she said that when their father was drinking, he was much more, quote, inclined to hug and kiss them. If they wanted to avoid this unwanted physical attention, they had to hide from him until he sobered up. Benjamin would then run off with his male cousin and began an affair with him. Their incestuous relationship lasted for a decade before he came back home to Marcus's mom and the kids, ready to be a husband and dad again, acting as if he had never been gone. Keep that incest in the back of your mind, because it definitely, I think it definitely leads to where Marcus may have inherited the idea that it was somehow okay to have sexual relations with your own family, and the dads can have a special way of loving their children. So kind of keep that in mind. As far as Marcus's mom, Carrie, there's conflicting information as to whether she knew about the abuse and incest, or if she did, how much she knew. She was a strict Seventh-day Adventist who would have daily Bible studies with the kids and would whip them with an electrical cord if they stepped out of line. Despite his crazy upbringing, Marcus's relatives remembered him as being kind, and his favorite game was playing preacher. By the early 1960s, the family moved to San Bernardino, California. And after dropping out of high school at age 17, he joined the military as a medic and/or ambulance driver. At the age of 22 in 1968, he was discharged from the Army and soon after began a relationship with a married woman named Rosemary Solorio. She was 15 years a senior. She already had 8 kids, but before long she got pregnant and had Marcus's baby. This was a little boy they named Adair. If you thought at this point that Marcus might be a busy new proud father doting on his baby boy, you'd be wrong. He would instead spend more time with Rosemary's 8-year-old daughter, Elizabeth. So he went back to his favorite game as a child, playing preacher, except Marcus was now still grown, and it seemed he wanted to be viewed as a spiritual leader. When he began touching a now 12-year-old Elizabeth physically, he claimed that God had told him that Elizabeth was his wife, and as if to prove his point, he held a home, quote, marriage ceremony with the child. He took her out of school to be homeschooled herself on what he thought she needed to be taught. Again, she was only 12 years old when he began sexually assaulting her, fake married her, and took her out of school. 2 years later, when she was 14, Elizabeth became pregnant with Marcus's baby, and as soon as she was able to legally get married, they did. By the time she turned 26, she had given birth to 10 children with Marcus.
Good God.
Which is the beginning of the start of a very cult-like incestuous compound, and where Ruby Ortiz and Sofina Solorio came into the picture. Remember, going back, these are the 2 women who called the cops to address where the bodies were found.
Mm-hmm.
They weren't actually conceived from Marcus's incestuous relationships. Rather, they were his nieces through his marriage to Elizabeth. In 1989, Elizabeth's sister Rose was struggling with drug addiction. She handed over her 7 kids to Marcus and Elizabeth, taking the count to 16 children, along with the 2 adults. This also meant but it also meant that Marcus didn't stop at only marrying and father the kids with Elizabeth. He went on to marry and have kids with 3 of those nieces, Ruby, Sofina, and another named Rosa. He also married 2 of his own daughters, and by married, I mean in one of his delusional home-held spiritual unions, where he would take his bride into a bedroom, place her hand on the Bible, cover it with his own, they would recite vows, and then finish with the I do's. Like most abusers and cult leaders, Marcus had not only brainwashed the girls, but made him fear him in order to have their incestuous relationships with him and do what he wanted. It was well known within the family that Marcus aspired to be like the cult leader, David Koresh. So another thing that was going on during this time. For those that aren't familiar with him, he was the head of the Branch Davidians. This was a religious sect, an offshoot of the Seventh-day Adventist. I will be covering this in a future episode. The Davidians lived in a compound just outside of Waco, and David Koresh claimed he was God's final prophet.
One of the reasons why we call the city of Waco Wacko.
Yeah. I mean, this was a 51-day siege. Most people were glued to their TV every day watching the siege of the Davidian compound. I was one of those. I watched every day all the way up until the final. Again, I'm not going to get into it. Ultimately the siege ended. It was very tragic. 71 Branch Davidians died. 21 of those were children under the age of 16. So I'll cover that in another episode. Anyway, just like David Koresh, Marcus hated law enforcement. So after seeing what happened to him, he ordered the family to agree to a suicide pact, and that if any government official ever tried to come and take the children away or split up the family, the mothers were to kill the children and then themselves. And he held monthly meetings to discuss the details of this plan. Jim Jones. Wessons moved to Fresno not long after that suicide pact was made, converting an abandoned office building into a home. And that's what, when Marcus had brought the 12 officers had seen on the day they discovered the dead victims. There's been a few different speculations as to why he had the coffins, if it was to prep for a suicide, or was it part of the fact that he believed that they were vampires? So anyway, it goes without saying it's not normal to have coffins simply lying around the house. But anyway, like most cults, right? Like most cults, the members, in this case, all family, were controlled in every aspect of their lives. The women and girls had to dress in long skirts and headscarves, walk behind Marcus, and stay silent in public. If they tried to talk to anyone, they would be beaten. They were separated away from their brothers and cousins just in case the males developed sexual feelings for any of the females. Only Marcus was allowed to have relations with them. Essentially, their lives consisted of taking care of the children, as well as all the cleaning and cooking, the majority of the time with no running water or electricity. They were expected to fuss over Marcus by washing his excessively long dreadlocks, scratching his belly and his armpits. Um, Whether they obeyed or not did not matter because beating them was his pastime. Both the women and children would be beaten with electrical cords, baseball bats, tree branches, and his fists for even the slightest reason. One of his children would later recount being beaten for 30 days straight after stealing a spoonful of peanut butter.
Mm-hmm.
Sophina, who's the mother of 7-year-old Jonathan, who was one of the bodies found in 2004, testified that when Jonathan was only 1 month old, Marcus had beaten him until his legs bled because he wouldn't stop crying. When a girl in the family, whether that was a niece or daughter, reached the age of 8, Marcus would begin what he called, quote, loving. He would start by touching them in their beds at night, then move on to outright sexual assault, all under the guise of teaching them how to be women. And just as he had done all those years ago with Elizabeth, he homeschooled all the kids, mainly consisting of hours of preaching his own delusional beliefs, one of which that he was Jesus Christ and a vampire. In terms of the actual education, it was never more than drawing pictures or coloring. Marcus didn't work. Instead, the family survived on welfare. He believed the head of the household did not work. The welfare checks didn't go far for a huge, ever-growing family, so more often than not, that meant the kids were having rice to eat or digging through bins near businesses for food. Marcus was fed whatever he wanted, and by the time he was arrested, he weighed nearly 300 pounds and was so big that officers had to use 3 sets of handcuffs in order to reach his arms because he couldn't put him fully behind his back. Wesson was abusive towards his wife and children. He prevented Elizabeth from participating in the children's upbringing. Again, he homeschooled them, taught them from his own handwritten Bible that focused on Jesus Christ being a vampire. He told the children that he was God and referred to and that they referred to him as Master or Lord. He taught the children to be prepared for Armageddon and said that the girls were destined to become Wesson's future wives. And his school curriculum involved teaching girls oral sex as young as 8 or 9. So many cult leaders we've talked about that have just, so somehow they always
there is something in people's psyche about sexual slavery. I mean, there's
it's part of the control. It's all part of the control. If they, especially if they do it to them early, they maintain that control over them. They lived all over the place. One time they lived on a tugboat. Other times they were all living on army tents in the woods. But they seem to always stay under the radar. There were no records ever indicating that Child and Family Services had ever investigating them. Marcus intentionally kept them hidden from the outside world, and it really wasn't until 2004, after the DNA testing, that he was outed as the dangerous person that he actually was. What's important to remember, because we've touched on this briefly, their way of life was all they'd ever known. This is what they were born into.
Yeah.
It wasn't until Ruby and Sophina came forward that it would bring everything crashing down. Interesting side note that when he married them, he also married Sophina's sister Rosa. And right to the end, she remained loyal to Marcus, and it just really kind of highlights how successfully that cult leaders can brainwash the people around them. It's wild. Surprisingly, Ruby and Sophina hadn't escaped. They simply told Marcus they wanted to leave and lead a life outside the world. Surprisingly, Marcus agreed on one condition. He would let them go if they left the children, Sophina's son, Jonathan, and Ruby's child, Aviv. The women were so desperate to escape that they agreed. They knew they wanted to experience a different life, but it wasn't until they were out in the real world and away from Marcus's constant brainwashing that they actually realized that what he had done to them and was still doing the rest of the family, and that it was wrong. which
Probably
leads us.
took them a little time to figure that out, too.
Oh, I'm sure it did. And that leads us right back to the start of the story, where on March 12th, they gathered relatives who had not been part of Marcus's incestuous community for moral support and headed back to the abandoned building that was serving as the home to rescue their babies. They heard that Marcus was planning on leaving Fresno with the family and moving in Washington State, and they felt that they couldn't let that happen. So they arrived at the property at 2 p.m. Safina walked in, had taken her son Jonathan by the hand and told Marcus she was leaving with him, and Ruby wanted to leave too. But Rosa, again, who stayed behind and was still loyal, grabbed Jonathan and ran to a back room where Sabrina, that may be Sabrina. Now I just realized it. It's spelled Sebhrenah. That may be Sabrina.
Yeah.
But that's where she had put the other children. Marcus then shoved Safina out the door, which is what prompted their call to the police, and we know how the rest panned out from there. Marcus's huge distrust in law enforcement meant that nothing about his trial started smoothly. His arraignment was delayed twice because he repeatedly insisted that he did not want a public defender and wanted to hire his own lawyers, two men named David Mugridge and Gary Harvey. It's not clear if he hadn't been able to afford them in or if they said no, because after all was said and done, he was ultimately represented by two public defenders. And finally, on March 3rd, 2005, the trial finally began. He was charged with 9 counts of first-degree murder, 14 counts of molestation and rape. Many of his family testified, some who were still loyal to him and others who weren't. Either way, the jury began hearing the horrors that Marcus had inflicted on his family. During jury selection for the capital murder trial, several prospective panelists were excused after they indicated they were terrified to be in the same courtroom as Marcus. According to witness testimony, Marcus said his conduct was consistent with the Bible and that Jesus was a womanizer. The family studied the Bible 3 times a day, with Marcus interpreting passages for the group. Among his favorites were those dealing with polygamy. One of his sons testified saying, quote, "He was my dad. He was God. I was mortally afraid of him. There were times as a child where I could not speak, when I would defecate in my pants, when I would not walk for a week because the beatings were so bad." Marcus's defense, though, said that he didn't kill anybody, and that it was 25-year-old Sabrina who had actually pulled the trigger, murdering the children than herself. And it was all part of the suicide pact that he made years earlier. The prosecution couldn't provide solid evidence either way because there were no prints on the gun, but what was on the gun was Sabrina's DNA, and her body had been on top of all the others along with the murder weapon. This did give the defense a certain amount of weight to their argument that had it been her, if she had been the one to kill him, then obviously her body would be on top. The prosecution did not accept defeat. They argued that there was cause for reasonable doubt. There was no way of knowing if she was lying, where she had fallen, or if she had been placed there. The gun was underneath her, so that too could have easily been put there. The gunshot wound to her head was also inconclusive. On one hand, it was consistent with a self-inflicted wound, but on the same token, being shot at close range couldn't be ruled out either. Ruby and Safina testified and told the court how Marcus had complete control over the family and highlighted that suicide pact. If police came knocking, then the mothers needed to kill their kids themselves. However, this also worked in the defense's favor because Sabrina killing the children, even though they weren't all hers, then herself, would fit the narrative. That being said, there have been plenty of cases, and we've talked about them, where family annihilators kill their family in an attempt to blame the deceased parent. We've talked about this in stories.
Or actually get them to do it. But Charlie Manson never killed anybody. But he sent a whole bunch of people to kill some people.
Yes.
That's why he went to jail. It's still a conspiracy.
Absolutely. Great case there. Great point.
Yes.
Ultimately, the semantics of who pulled the actual trigger wasn't important to the jury. Even if Sabrina had fired the shots, it was all down to Marcus's brainwashing and control. The prosecution's closing argument had resonated with the jury. They argued, quote, "In this family, he was Christ himself, the ultimate authority figure who determined life and death. If not for his suicide pact, for his teachings, none of this would have happened." So on June 27th, 2005, Marcus was found guilty on all counts and sentenced to 102 years in prison for the rape and molestation charges. The jury took more than 2 weeks to find him guilty. For the murder of his children and grandchildren, he received the death penalty and was transported to San Quentin Prison, which was the country's largest death row at the time. Ironically, this was the same prison that houses Scott Peterson. But whether you're pro death penalty or not, you've heard that on this show, Marcus won't ever actually be put to death for his crimes because in March of 2019, California Governor Gavin Newsom signed an embargo on the executions in the state, which in turn has spared Marcus's life. Thankfully, though, due to his 102-year sentence, he will never be eligible for parole or see the light of day again. He is currently 78 years old and still rotting behind bars.
In San Quentin.
Yep.
You ever taken a look at the San Quentin?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. It's this nice big promontory. It's a nice big peninsula that goes out into the ocean. So you can watch all these beautiful ocean sceneries, but you can never get out.
Nope.
And it's really hard to escape because, I mean, you get out and swim, but, I mean, you'd be swimming to Hawaii, you know?
Right.
You're not going to make it.
Rosa, who again had been in the home at the time of the murders, for some reason didn't die. I couldn't find anything, honestly, why she wasn't part of the suicide pact, especially since she'd been the one to pull Jonathan away from Sofina and put him in the back room with the other children.
Mm-hmm.
But there is the fact that 2 of her children were among the dead, 4-year-old Ethan and 1-year-old Sedona.
Mm-hmm.
At Marcus's trial, she stood in front of the jury and told them that she loved Marcus and he wasn't guilty as far as she was concerned. Again, I said this year, last year marked the 20th anniversary of this. Mayor Jerry Dyer, who was police chief at the time, spoke to ABC News and was quoted as saying, quote, "It was just horrific, the worst mass murder that we had experienced in the history of our city. And it wasn't just the fact that 9 people were killed, it was how they were killed, the lifestyle that was occurring in that household. Marcus Wesson convinced his family he was God and that Jesus was a vampire." Elizabeth, who was the only legal marriage to Marcus, and the surviving children were given support in realizing just how brainwashed they were, and more importantly, how delusional, psychotic, and narcissistic Marcus was. In 2010, for the first time ever, they spoke to reporters at ABC News, recounting on how over the 5 years that had passed since his incarceration, they had all tried to heal and move on with their lives as best as they could. When all this came out to the public, many people accused Elizabeth of not putting a stop to the incest and abuse. Her argument was that she hadn't known what was going on. However, one of Elizabeth and Marcus's sons had testified at the murder trial, saying that if his mother didn't know about the things taking place in the house, as she claimed, then she would have to be pretty dumb. As a side note, none of Marcus's sons had known for sure that their sisters and cousins were being sexually abused. Remember, they were separated.
Mm-hmm.
And although when they got pregnant, they'd been suspicious, it wasn't until DNA tests were conducted after Marcus's arrest that they found out for sure. I also think it's worth reiterating that of those 9 victims found dead, only the 2 eldest were born of his wife. The rest were all a product of incest.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of agree with their son, because how could she not know? But I also don't believe she can be fully vilified. She was 8 years old when Marcus began grooming her, and 12 when he had relations with her.
Yeah, she was psychologically tortured and manipulated from the time of 8 years old till
Absolutely.
whatever this stuff.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, he kept her so isolated that she only knew the life that he had shown her, as we had talked about.
Yeah.
Many members of the public turned on Elizabeth when it was discovered that she had been there the day the 9 victims were shot, except she had run and saved herself.
Uh-huh.
She recounted when she walked into the home past the police, who they told were waiting on Marcus to come out and resolve a custody issue. She remembered it being eerily quiet inside the house. She said her hands shook as she opened the door to the back bedrooms. The room was dimly lit, making it hard to see clearly, but she saw Marcus kneeling down with his arm wrapped around their 17-year-old daughter, also named Elizabeth, but also known as Lisi. She then said, "I saw Lisi just looking at me, and then Marcus called my name. He said, 'B,' which was her nickname, 'come here,' as if I were in trouble. Lisi didn't say a word, but she looked at me like, 'Mom, it's too late.' She looked at me like she had given up." She then finished her account by saying she ran. and that this day she doesn't know why, but she regrets it. She regrets she didn't protect her children, and for that she will never find peace.
Dude, she may not remember any of. You know what I mean?
Well, she remembers some of it for sure. Because I mean,
Yeah, but I'm
she's
saying after that, she's like, and I ran. Um, uh, After all of that, there may be pieces of that she won't ever remember. You know, it's like
right.
I ran, and her lizard brain took over, and she just ran.
Right. She ran out of pure instinct that's all she could think to do.
Yeah.
And I just, like I said, I can't completely find her innocent, but I can see
Mhm.
the why. You know,
Yeah.
she just couldn't see anything else. I think she saw the writing on the wall, and it was fight or flight instinct.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah, I guess her lizard brain taking over is not a good way. But yeah, fight or flight took over, and she flew.
Right.
And then she came to halfway down the block or wherever it was she came to, and by that time it was already over.
Right. Right.
It makes total sense to me.
I've talked about this with cults before because I've covered many of these cults. Nobody here, I would think not at any rate, but you can't truly understand the level of mental abuse that they all experience daily.
Well, I was listening to a study today, specifically about American society, and it had to do with politics, but the idea behind it was the company Cambridge Analytica, the English company, figured out that 54% of Americans on Facebook, because that's what they were data mining for, are fairly to severely susceptible to suggestion. 54% of the people on Facebook, and that's a lot of people, Americans specifically, and that 10% of those are highly suggestible. Highly suggestible. That's how they did their data mining. That's what they did their data mining for.
Well, and we've talked about this from time to time, but Elizabeth was just as much a victim as the rest of the Wesson family. We've talked about that cult leaders prey on people who are looking to belong. They don't feel they belong in society or in their family. They don't feel a sense of norm, and these cult leaders give them a sense of belonging. As much as the abuse was happening here, as much as the overall living conditions, they still belonged to a family. They had their mothers with them, and they had Marcus, who from a very young age was teaching them that he was God, was teaching them that he was the supreme, and so it's kind of hard to figure how they would just get out of that mentality. You can't,
especially if you were raised in it your entire life.
Exactly. So,
or in some cases, since you were like 8.
Yeah. The building where the massacre took place, it was torn down years ago. To this day, it remains a vacant lot. I was amazed as I read this story. Not only I was amazed just as much as the horrific content of this story as the fact that I had never heard this one. Heard of this of Marcus Wesson.
Fresno, California is like the far northeast bay. It's again, this is a local's word, not mine. It's dirtbag California. California doesn't have a whole lot of dirtbag areas. Fresno is one of them.
Right, but something this horrific, it just didn't get the headlines.
No. Well, Scott Peterson was going on at the time.
Scott Peterson, David Koresh, the Branch Davidian compound, right? And they just kind of overshadowed this. But this was this was horrific, and I don't know. It's just kind of unbelievable that this didn't get the press.
Yeah.
That everything.
Well,
else
I imagine it probably did locally.
Yeah, but it should have been national. I mean, this should have been national news because this was a horrific cult mass murder, and it was just wild, just wild. But anyway, that's the story of the Wesson family murders.
Well, thank you for that, sir.
Just wild, 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 wild. Cool. Well, that will take us to the end of another recording week. As always, you can find more information about us on nerderyandmurdery.com. That's our hub. That's our website for everything we talk about. You'll find links to the topics we talk about, videos or pictures, and you'll also find the link to our YouTube page, which Zig so often updates.
Thank you. Yes, there are scenes from each one of these films. I tried to pick some of the really good stuff, especially the really groundbreaking things that were happening in the films. But I think I would encourage everybody to get out and watch all of these.
Agreed.
Even Ishtar.
No, I'm not watching that one.
Yeah, I don't
not watching that one.
You should watch Valerian, though. Valerian's beautiful.
At some point, I'll get down to watch that. You can also find the link to our merchandise page, where if you wish to show off your nerdery murdery fandom, please do consider purchasing something from there. You'll also find the link to our Patreon. Our patrons, along with our merchandise sales, go to the costs that are associated with the show. It costs to keep us on the air, for our stores, for our uploads, everything that goes into this. It's not cheap. It's not easy, and we appreciate each and every one of you.
Please and thank you.
Please and thank you. If you want to do something for free, you can always leave a 5-star review wherever you can. It really helps us, helps others find our content that may be looking for the topics we discuss. And last, if very not least, you can go to sleep now, Chuck.
Good night, Chuck. Good night, Cookie.
With that,
I've been Zig with your nerdery.
And I'm Geoffrey with your murdering.
Cue the music.
Podcast blend like fantasy. Nerdery and murdery. For the geeks and sleuths in harmony. Comics and clues on every show. It's a villain no one knows. From dungeons deep to courtrooms gold. Stories waiting to unfold. Forgotten lore and chilling tales. Superheroes and crime details. Listen close and stay a while. Journey through the strange and wild. Nerdery and murdery. A podcast blend like fantasy.